This was clearly not the usual get the lawn mowed or get your stuff out of your old room kind of meeting. And sure enough, Dad, in his usual blunt style, confronted us with the question, the question for any 22-year-old. He said to Dan and me, "What are you going to do with your life?" I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with next week, much less the next 50 years. But Dan knew, in the true fashion of a recent college graduate, wanting to avoid the workplace, he stated, "Dad, I'm going to go to grad school." A truly honored tradition of Gavora children trying to postpone the inevitable. Dad, of course, had other plans. At that time, he had a retail grocery company, Market Basket Inc., and a wholesale company, Northland Hub. He told us, "If you don't want them, I'm going to sell them." Sounds like a great deal, right? So I went to Market Basket, and Dan gave up his dream of grad school and went to Northland Hub. It was a tremendous responsibility. Northland Hub was one of the biggest privately held businesses in the state. At just 28 years old, Dan was its CEO. But how does the saying go, never look the gift horse in the mouth? We should have looked. Those of you who were around in the 80s know what the economy was like in general, and especially for independent grocers. By 1987, when Dan was a 28-year-old CEO, Northland Hub was forced into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Suddenly, not just the fate of the Hub, but of all the Gavora companies were in jeopardy. If the Hub failed, the ripple effect would have been huge. All of our companies could have gone down. Hundreds of employees in Fairbanks, Anchorage, and Seattle would have lost their jobs. As CEO, the odds were against Dan. I don't need to tell this audience that of most of the companies that go into Chapter 11, very few come out. But he made it. And it's an example of business leadership that I will always be in awe of. Dan worked harder than I've ever seen anyone work. And through a combination of sheer determination and great business acumen, he rebuilt the business. He saved the hundreds of jobs of employees that made the Hub successful once again. It was purchased by a new operator in 1999. Some of you here tonight went through this tough time with us, and I salute you. Everyone worked hard and sacrificed. And we all looked to Dan for leadership during a very dark time. He didn't disappoint us. Dan and I don't have the day-to-day business interaction that we used to. I'm in booze and gas now, and he's in water and sewage. So our business paths don't cross too much. But I still go to Dan for his opinions and insights. My whole family relies on his leadership for managing our family businesses, including Gavora Incorporated, Hotel North Pole, Gavora's Fine Wine, Frontier Outfitters, Badger and Hot Springs Gas, Laser Wasps of Fairbanks. Dan's fingerprints are all over these. It really makes you wonder where he finds the time, and tells you a little about the patience and fortitude of his wonderful and long-suffering wife, Joyce. Of the people I've been lucky enough to work with over the past 30 years, in terms of mentoring, good judgment, and vision, Dan ranks second, only to my father. So I guess congratulations are due not only to Dan, but the UAF School of Management as well. As far as I'm concerned, in 35 years of naming the Business Leader of the Year, I know they got it right. Twice. Keep up the good work.
Award recipients are selected on their merits of business excellence, leadership, educational support at any level, and community service. Tonight, you've heard amazing accomplishments of this year's recipient. Now, it is tradition that the ASB president presents the award to the recipient. But this year, I thought that someone else should do this presentation. Paul, would you do the honors?
Well, it took you long enough to get it.
Well, now you have some idea what I've been putting up with all my life. Oh, wow. Well, to say that this experience hasn't been just a bit overwhelming is understatement. I first became aware of this award 35 years ago when I sat in the same room and watched it was presented for the very first time to my father. So I have a heightened appreciation of the value and significance of this recognition. I've also had the opportunity to know and admire a lot of the 34 past recipients and to be included amongst the outstanding individuals who have done so much to shape not only the business environment in Fairbanks, but to enhance the quality of life of our community is an honor and a very humbling experience. And I really want to thank the Associated Students of Business for that. This is the only award of its kind that really kind of meshes those two together. And to me, my philosophy is business and community are hand in hand. That's something that I was taught at a very young age from my father. And so as I was sitting here listening to all these wonderful things being said, I could not help but think, wow, I'm getting way too much credit. And any success I have has been a result of the tremendous support that I've received over the years from my family, my friends, and my coworkers. And the most significant of which, and the person to whom I owe the most gratitude, is my wife, Joyce. She has been the one that's had to shoulder a disproportionate amount of the family responsibilities during my career, and everything I have done could not have been accomplished without her unwavering support. In addition to putting up with me for the last 19 years, she has provided me with the most meaningful things in my life, our 4 wonderful children, 2 of which are here tonight. You heard a little bit about Chris. He was out last night causing trouble. We'll have a conversation later. And then my daughter, Alexis, both here tonight. And I have to thank Chris for a couple of things. First, for the countless hours he put into the slideshow. That was Chris. And second, as you may have noticed in the slides, is that he's let me relive vicariously my sporting career through him. And so we've had a great ride here the last 12, 14 years between basketball, baseball, football. And so it's been a real pleasure. Chris has just recently made us all really very proud when he and his teammates went down to Anchorage and brought the 3A state championship basketball trophy back to Fairbanks after 34-year absence. So, very proud of him. And then there's my beautiful daughter, Alexis, who continues to amaze us with her intellect. As a junior, she is already preparing for college and taking SAT entrance exams. She reminds me of her grandfather. She possesses that same determined spirit to excel at whatever she undertakes. And Joyce and I have truly been blessed with our children. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank my mother, who in addition to raising 9 children, took on the challenge of making sure we were raised with an appreciation for religion, music, and culture. Hers was a tireless and thankless task, and at the time, very underappreciated by me. I often talk about finding balance in life. I have this conversation a lot with people. You know, you have to have balance in your life. Balance between your work commitments, balance between your family commitments, community commitments, as well as your personal commitments. And this is something I struggle with continually, is trying to make sure I'm in balance. Without balance in your life, any amount of business success is a hollow victory. Mom, I want to thank you, and I want you to know that I appreciate everything you've done for me, for teaching me the value of maintaining a broad perspective in one's life. I would not be the person I am today were it not for your efforts. So thank you. And then there's my dad. There's a reason he was the first person chosen for this award. If you look up the definition of entrepreneur in the dictionary, it will describe my dad. It starts with being a visionary, followed by an appetite for taking risk, combined with fierce determination and commitment to the goal, topped off with an incredibly optimistic outlook for the future. My philosophy on business, on the customer, and the relationship with the community come from my dad. I remember as a kid watching a steady stream of people walking in and out of my dad's office asking for advice, thinking, wow, people stand in line to get a few minutes of what I get nonstop at home. The problem was that at the time I wasn't much interested in listening to the kind of advice I was getting. My dad routinely would leave his office during the busy part of the afternoon to go up to the front of the store and bag groceries for the customers. I was confused and asked him, why are you doing the most menial job in the store? His reply was that at the end of every business transaction was a customer. Understanding firsthand from that customer their satisfaction with the transaction was the most valuable information a person could possibly have in running a business. Bagging groceries during the transaction with the customer gave them the opportunity to get that interaction and insight. It was during this time that I finally began to realize that being successful in business has less to do with the exchange of the physical product, and it had more to do with the human interaction between the business and its customers. And that's something that it took me a long time, because we were in the business of selling things, groceries and products, and I got too caught up in the fact that it was the product we were selling. No, you were selling it was a relationship you were developing, and a trust that you were creating. And so that bond with your customer was everything. So my dad has been my model for what an entrepreneur really is. His vision, determination, integrity, and character are qualities I will always strive for. I want to thank my brother Rudy. Thanks for going easy on me tonight. Thanks for everything you said, and more importantly, everything you did not say. Rudy and I share a lot of the same experiences growing up in the family business. We both cut our teeth at the bottom of the job pyramid and worked our way up through the ranks. Today, Rudy continues to successfully run and expand the family business, and it continues to thrive under his leadership. I'd also like to acknowledge my sisters, Alex and Jessica, who traveled up from Washington State and Washington, D.C. to be here, as well as my brother Stephen and sister Jennifer and their families that are here tonight. They've all played a role in shaping my outlook on life and on making sure my humility was not overlooked on the way. Joe, I want to thank you for your comments as well. It's been my privilege to have been able to work alongside you with my role at Denali State Bank, watching you develop into the business leader you are. It's not an accident. Joe was the first female bank president in Alaska history, and it wasn't an accident. She was qualified in more ways than one, and took charge and brought that business to new heights. And it was and watching her develop as a leader in that role was truly remarkable. And we're really sad that she has decided to retire. But at some point in time, everybody does. But anyhow. Joe exemplifies the qualities of a great leader, and which is why, obviously, it's truly fitting that she was the 32nd recipient of this award. So, Joe, thank you very much. I also want to thank Andy Warwick. Andy's the chairman of the board that I report to. And there's many times when I'm struggling trying to put things together and just really kind of in a quandary as to a decision. I can go to Andy, and Andy's got this incredible capacity to take complex things and make them simple. And I really appreciate that because, you know, sometimes you get too far in the weeds, you're getting too close to the issue and you need to back away, and Andy's got an incredible capacity to do that. In fact, the support of my whole board is invaluable to me in my job. In addition to the incredible talents they possess and wisdom they provide, they also understand the importance of the connection to the community and the customer. My ability to support local causes and activities here in our community is a direct reflection of the shared value for these commitments that I have from the members of my board. 12 years ago, my path took a sudden and dramatic shift. I went from running and managing our family grocery business to beginning a career in the utility business. As unlikely a change as I could ever imagine. I didn't think I had the skill sets for it. I was used to firefighting 101, and utilities all about long-term planning, and I was unprepared. I went from an industry where I had the confidence of 25 years of experience to a business model I had absolutely no experience with. It was terrifying and exciting at the same time. It was like going back to school. It was, you know, it was totally invigorating from the standpoint of having to challenge yourself to step up and take on a whole new role, whole new business model, different way of looking at things. I could never have made this transition without the mentoring of so many. People like George Gordon, Lance Parrish, and Andy Warwick. In addition, the president and vice president of Corex, Brett Hodson and Dietz Kelman, which are both here tonight, came up from Canada. Those are the owners of our company. Fairbanks Sewer and Water could not have successfully bid on the military privatization contract without the support and trust of our partners at Doyon Limited. Ori Williams, Norm Phillips were instrumental in this, as well as Aaron Shutt. That's been a real success for us. Obviously, we're very, very fortunate to win that award. And taking two entities that didn't know each other too well at the time and bringing those together, and really started with the basis for that whole relationship was trust. Without trust, that wouldn't have gone forward. And it's a real credit to our boards on both sides that they have that level of trust that allows us to go out and do what we do. Beneath all this, however, are literally hundreds of utility professionals working hard to deliver for the customer every day. We've assembled a team at both Fairbanks Sewer and Water and Doyon Utilities that I could not be more proud of. Their commitment to their profession and the customer is unparalleled. It is because of their efforts that I'm able to stand here tonight and accept this award. There are two individuals that I've relied upon during my 12-year career at the utilities that deserve special mention. They are Dave Dean and Martina Coyley. Through their support, my utility career has been invaluable, and I cannot thank them enough. So, thank you very much. Tonight really is about supporting the University of Alaska Associated Students of Business. I want to thank all of you here for giving up your Friday night to make that happen. I'm just overwhelmed with the fact that so many of you would come out tonight and honor me and honor and support the students. There are a number of you that have traveled long distances to be with here, which makes your presence here tonight all the more meaningful. In addition, many of you have played important roles in our successes, and to that end, I share tonight's recognition with you. And finally, I would like to thank Mark. Mark and I have had a long career. We never had to compete against each other because his children were younger than I, but Mark and I are out there on the baseball diamond doing the same thing, and I appreciate what he does out there in the community and what he does here for the School of Management. Tammy Tragus McCook. Tammy's, everybody that knows Tammy knows that Tammy is a ball of fire. She gets it done. So, and couldn't thank Bobby. Appreciate all the hard work you've put in helping this organization come to where it's gotten to. The recognition of both businesses and community accomplishments